and welcome to this week's TNA Podcast. As usual, myself, Rithwik, the host of the show, and I'm joined by the show's co-host, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey mate, you okay?
Yeah, all okay, mate, all okay. So, yeah, once again, a Friday episode, which, we started, I guess, on a Tuesday, probably for the last few weeks, and now we've been doing it on Friday. So, yeah, change is always good, I guess.
Yeah, of course it is.
Right. This is
Every day of the week, aren't we? Every day of the week.
Yeah. This is the 78th episode of the Nutmeg Assist podcast, by the way, and we've come a long way, I guess. I still kind of listen to the first episode that I ever did, and I kind of laugh at my own voice and the way I've done it. So the whole podcast started as an experiment, but it's kind of turned out to a really good experience or a venture, right?
Yeah, it's been fun.
Absolutely. I think we're just after this episode, I think we are 22 episodes away from hitting the century, and we do plan to have some special guests in by that time. So do stay tuned. We are going to bring a lot of content your way. But today's agenda is basically a lot of things which has come from our patron questions, basically. Last week, we kind of ducked the patron question because it was completely a different topic, our best transfer 11. So this week, we'll start with that particular patron question, which was Abhinav's on Barcelona, Chris. So his question was, are Barcelona back to their best now, and will this string of results and good performance keep Messi at the club? But before coming to you, Chris, I just want to tell you that Erling Haaland's dad, Alfie Haaland, and Mino Raiola had a little trip to Barcelona yesterday, to Spain. Barcelona first to meet with Laporta, and then they went to Madrid to meet with Perez, I guess. So there's this little mini trip as well. So do you think this is probably enough to keep Messi at the club because of all the financial constraints as well?
Yeah, I think Messi will stay. Yeah, I do. I don't know if it's going to be financially possible for him to go anywhere else. And even if he does stay, that negotiation, obviously that contract that he does sign is going to have to come way down. They're going to have to come to some agreements on that, because there's not a chance that he can stay on the same contract that he's on at Barcelona, given the financial predicament that they're in. The only other viable option for Messi to leave would be PSG, but at the minute, from what I'm seeing, they're in the process of negotiating a new contract with Neymar, and they're in the process of negotiating a new contract with Mbappe. Now, if they try to keep them to the club, given the money that they're going to have to put them players on, because not only because of their ability, but because of their age as well, they'll have to, and the length of time that they'll want to tie those players down. I don't see how they could also afford to get Messi. So I think Messi will stay, but not necessarily because of the football future of the club. Although, we can come on to that in a minute. There is a little bit of sunlight on the horizon for Barcelona, but yeah, I don't see it being financially possible for him to go anywhere else.
And it's kind of funny, right? Because every single team or every single manager would want to have Messi and Ronaldo at their club. But right now, the clubs that have Messi and Ronaldo look like they might be better off selling them due to different reasons. If you look at Barca, probably because of the financial constraints. I know still they would like to keep Messi because of the performances that he's shown recently as well. Ronaldo as well, he can probably still come clutch at different stages of knockout tournaments and in different games as well. But for Juventus, as a club building, I think it's better off selling him. And for Barcelona, it's better to sell Messi from a financial point of view as well. So it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah, spot on. What Juventus is doing with Ronaldo, just sort of, we won't discuss that too much, but it just sort of what they want to put in place with their managers, like a philosophy, a certain style of play, an entertaining style of play, pressing high, doesn't suit having Ronaldo in the team. he would have been much better suited to having Max Allegri in charge, who can adapt and build his tactics around Ronaldo, as opposed to having Sarri or Pirlo, from what I've seen this year. But in regards to Messi, it's just, from a football point of view, I don't think his commitment or his quality can ever be in question. It's just the financial impact of his contract and whether Barcelona want to put forward in the future, and his own attitude towards it as well. Is he going to accept having a bit part role in the future? And can a Barcelona allow him to have a bit part role as well? Because he's still one of the best around. But his performances this season, especially after the turn of Christmas, have been fantastic, and he's a big part of why the club is in a good rich vein of form at the moment. But there's just so many questions of how managers are going to integrate him in the team, and they're going to build the team around him, which his quality demands. Or are they going to sort of start choosing games in which he plays? But I don't know if the other players at the club are good enough at the moment to take up that hold of saying, right, yeah, we can still do this without him. We can still challenge without him. So it's a little bit intriguing to know what Barcelona are going to do moving forward, and it'll be intriguing to know what happens in the summer in terms of finances as well, because I think one thing's for certain, Rithwik, I don't think Barcelona can afford to let him go on a free transfer and then just continue with this squad, because at the moment he is still by far Barcelona's best and most important player. That's not without question. No one can question that at the moment. You take Messi out of this Barcelona team now, and they are struggling.
Absolutely. That's basically what I said. I mean, from a performance point of view, I think it doesn't make too much sense to sell Messi at this point of time, because he's still their most influential player. I mean, the form that he has shown since the turn of this year has been absolutely outstanding. I think even in the second leg against PSG, he was really, really good. He has turned up a lot this season. If you look at FBref, and if you look at the stats for the last 1 year, which is like last 365 days, he is still in the 99th percentile in a few metrics, and he's I think still in the more than 90th percentile in the most categories when you compare him with attacking midfielders or even forwards. So I mean, that kind of shows you, and people say that Messi is declining, so that kind of shows you that this guy is probably something.
He's still the best in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry to say, Ronaldo fans. I mean, you guys can say Ronaldo is probably the best player in the world. I mean, I don't want to argue, but personally for me,
I'll argue with Rick. He isn't.
Just for the sake of keeping argument aside, I would probably not go there, because it kind of gets an ugly turn at times. So So moving on to the next guy, Dieter's question. Dieter is again one of our most supportive patrons, and he has put us with 5 questions, which we are going to discuss before we wrap up the podcast. So the first one being about the Euros. So there was this kind of rumor that several managers, the likes of Roberto Martinez, Roberto Mancini, etc., had wanted. I mean, these guys kind of wanted UEFA to allow more than 26 players, I guess, for the Euros, fearing COVID situations. So this has not been official yet, but I heard that UEFA kind of discussed this particular thing in their meeting this past Wednesday. That's what the news outlets had to say. I heard it from BBC as well as on Sky as well. Also, the 5 substitutions rule has been introduced, which is kind of good and might reduce the burnout which the players already have endured this season and probably in the last 2-3 years as well. But do you think, Chris, that this rule should probably be introduced? This rule in the sense, do you think it's good to expand the squad to more than 23 players? Probably make it 30 or 26 or whatever.
No, I don't. I don't think it's a good rule. I don't see the point. I really don't, because It'd be interesting to know if anyone could give us some stats as to how many national teams actually use their full quota of players during any World Cup or European Championships anyway. I mean, I've got to admit, I didn't really know too much. I remember reading something a couple of weeks back, but I didn't really know that this was like a serious proposal. I didn't know who it had come from until Dieter gave us that question. So I don't know how far along it is to actually becoming a sort of an actual rule, an actual allowance for the. Have they said before? Is it just for this one tournament, or is it going to be for future tournaments?
Yeah, it's just for this one tournament.
Just this one tournament.
Yeah, considering COVID and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, how does it actually? I just don't understand it. So let's say 26 players. So right, anyone, England, Italy, blah, all the nations are allowed to take 26 players as opposed to 23, I believe, what they currently take. How is having that extra 3 players or extra 7 if they take 30 gonna sort of help them in a COVID situation? You can only use 5 substitutes anyway. You can only pick 11 players. You can only use 5 substitutes. If anything, it's just going to hinder club football more because more players are going to go to the tournament. You're going to get 4 or 5 players from various different clubs for each nation that wouldn't go anyway, that are now going to go and going to train all summer when they're actually going to need a rest. So I think 23 players is more than enough anyway, because I don't believe nations use all 23 players. From what I can remember, I'm pretty sure Italy in 2006 World Cup used quite a lot of their players at the time, but that was sort of because of the manager and various other things, various tactical changes. So I know it does happen, but it doesn't happen often enough for to say, right, this needs to be now implemented. We need more players. We need more players for footballing reasons. And I know I just don't get it. To be honest, I don't get everything in the world of football is getting changed at the moment, and it's just like, why? Just leave the game as it is. I get the 5 substitutions. I get that, given the short impact or the short pre-season and the sort of continuous and the ongoing continuous football, say from May last year, it's just been non-stop. Maybe I think they stopped for a month pre-season and then back to it, and then the schedule this year has been just constant. So get the need to have 5 players in it this year. I really do, although I hope that stops. But I just don't, let's take 26 or 30 players. No, for me, that I don't agree with it. I don't see the point. If anything, if they're going on about for COVID, if anything, there's more chance of getting it. If there's more players within the bubble, there's more chance of catching it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought of the same point again. I mean, you look at the 11 players that's going to start. You're going to introduce 5 substitutes. Okay, that's good. But would you go beyond that? How much would you go beyond that? Say for example, you have a 26-man squad. I mean, how often are you going to use, probably apart from 7 possible substitutes, how often are you going to use the next 9? So that's something that's really important. That might actually affect club football, like you said. Again, you don't want to build more fatigue, more burnout for the players coming on to next season. And the World Cup year is coming close as well. So you don't want to do that to the players, because the players are human beings after all. But I think one possible, when I was reading Dieter's question, I was pondering stuff, and one possible, suggestion or one possible solution to this could be, say for example, a player catches COVID and he is out. In that certain circumstance, maybe you don't call up extra players. Say you have just a 23-man squad, but in that certain circumstance, you probably get the provision to call an extra player who's not listed in the 23-man squad. So I think that probably could be a viable alternative or a viable solution to this. I know that might affect that extra player's vacation or whatever, but again, I think that's probably a viable solution. Maybe the manager can probably indicate to several players that you might probably be a kind of a standby list, right?
Yeah, I know. Initially, when the squads are named, aren't they? They always take 30 players, and then they always take like 26 players, and they have to, because they're not final on the 23, and then you have to cut 2 or 3 players off, don't they? And then there's always a few players on standby Anyway, I think that happens anyway. So, I mean, it's a good shout, but I'm pretty sure it happens anyway. That 2 or 3 players are always named on a standby. I always remember in the 2002 World Cup when Steven Gerrard got injured, Danny Murphy was on standby and got called up to replace, and then I think he got injured as well. So, but yeah, so I'm pretty sure that would happen anyway. The standby, I'm pretty sure, but I'm trying to think of reasons now in my head as to any other viable option to take more players. And you could also have the argument that the players with the bigger national pool, such as France, it would give them even more of a chance of winning the tournament because they've got a better national pool of players at the moment than most countries.
Bigger advantage.
So, do you know what I mean? It doesn't give the manager that sort of who do I have to choose, player A or player B? I know I'm going to choose player A, and then later on in the tournament he's made a mistake. He can, if he's taking 30 players, he can just say, right, I'll take both.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and that ruins the excitement of football at the moment.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of change. I think human beings in nature kind of, are not very much favorable to change happening. But if it's a good change, okay, they kind of adapt to it and they kind of accept it probably in some time. But normally, personally, I don't like a huge change, and I think in football we are seeing too much of that. So yeah, like you said,
I think I put a tweet out the other day, and it was just sort of I don't mind things getting reformatted or restructured. That's always happened in football right through the history of football. I mean, in the 1960s they talked about doing a Super League, so the Super League's never going to go away and things like that. I don't mind them changing. You've seen various rules of football. It used to be 2 points for a win. Now it's 3 points. So little changes like that. I don't know. I don't necessarily think you can call them changes. That's just sort of like reformatting. But when you're trying to change the game completely, and where does it stop? Let's take 40 players. Do you know what I mean? Next, it'll be like for international tournaments. I know we don't have to pick a squad of players. We can just pick any 11 that we want for each game. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We just call up them 11 players for each game. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, come on, just tweak it, but don't start trying to change it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Where's the excitement in that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no sporting integrity in it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on then, back to club football now. I think all the remaining questions are probably club football related. So the next one being about Ajax. Rita's question being, can Ajax win the Europa League? So Ajax play AS Roma in the quarterfinals. I think Villarreal play. Who does Villarreal play? I'm not sure. But if you look at their possible, the possible teams that are favorites, I think Manchester United probably are the biggest favorites. You have Arsenal. You have Villarreal because of Unai Emery and the way he thinks in this knockout tournaments. He's a master of the Europa League, of course. And AS Roma, who are basically Ajax's opponents in the semi-final. Sorry, in the quarterfinal, I mean. So, do you think Ajax can win the Europa League, Chris?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to obviously put, it's Dinamo Zagreb that have got Villarreal. They can, yeah. I think they can win it, but I mean, for me, they've got the toughest draw at this stage. Them Ajax and Roma playing each other, for me, is the best draw of the round, and probably the toughest for either team, just given the way they both tactically set up. Either team could go through. They're both on the same level with each other, and I wouldn't make necessarily one team more favourite than the other in that specific tie. So I believe Ajax certainly can win it, but sitting on the fence, a few other clubs can win it. I'm not sure Manchester United are quite as clear favourites as people are making out. I don't believe that. I mean, they've got Granada will prove to be a tricky draw for them, but I don't look at Manchester United and say they're a level above Roma or a level above Arsenal or they're a level above Ajax themselves. So they've probably got a bit more quality and depth of the squad as opposed to the other teams. But I don't make them clear favourites to win the Europa League. Like I said, Unai Emery as well has got experience winning this trophy, knows how to win it. So it's quite an open tournament at this stage. So Ajax have got as good a chance as any, but they've also got the toughest draw. But yeah, you look at the league form. I'm pretty sure the Eredivisie is basically wrapped up now. I think they're 11 or 9 points clear from last time I looked with a game in hand. I think they're 11, but yeah, they're 11 points clear with a game in hand. So that's basically wrapped up. They're in good form coming into. They've only lost 2 games in the league all season. They're in good form coming into the tournament. Coming into this tie against Roma, and yeah, it'll just be whether they can if they can get over this latest obstacle. Really, they can go on and win it. It would be good. It would be good for the team outside of sort of the elite teams to win it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in my opinion, I think it would probably surprise me a bit if Ajax go on and win. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Ajax. I think Ajax probably have a good chance of getting into the semi-finals, because AS Roma, despite having a pretty good season in the Serie A this time out, I think they are kind of impressed me a lot against bigger teams in bigger matches. I don't think they're not quite been convincing, I would say. That's probably the word. They've not been very convincing in bigger games, although they've been able to put the smaller teams aside probably comparatively well. So I think there's a good chance that Ajax make the semi-final. But then if you have Manchester United, Arsenal and Villarreal, I think it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, I'm not ruling out any chances for Ajax, because this is football after all. But it would probably surprise me a bit.
I mean, I don't make them. It would be a little bit of a surprise. It'd be very good, but I believe. I mean, like I said, Roma are pretty much. I mean, they're sitting 6th in Serie A. They're pretty much where they are. They're supposed to be. And I know most Roma fans may look at it and go, "Well, they're good enough to finish in the top 4 places." They are, but I don't think they're quite on the level of, say, an Atalanta or Juventus or Napoli. And I think this season they've basically beat who they should beat. They probably got beat. I know that they have fixture. I can't say that for every game, but they've beat who they should beat and probably been beaten by who they should have been beaten by. I know what I was meaning there is that the odd fixture obviously goes the other way. I'm not talking about every single game, but they're just sitting pretty much where they are at the moment. So it's quite an intriguing tie between the two teams, because you've got Ajax, who are sort of obviously got to the Europa League final. I know it was a different team and a different manager. Then they've got to the Champions League semi-final. So they're building up experience of getting into the later rounds of tournaments now. So for that, and obviously, I'm a big fan of the manager anyway. I think it's only a matter of time before he takes a top job in Europe. So and they'll always replenish the squad. They'll always come through with youngster players, and they have got a couple of exciting players at the moment. And they're a good team to watch, and they are actually not just a good team to watch, a good team as well. So I think they've got a chance just because of that, really. But then Roma are capable of beating them. So it is a very exciting tie, and it is definitely the toughest tie for each team at this point. But yeah, you can't rule out the other teams either. It'll be quite an exciting tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Ajax were quite a bit underwhelming in the Champions League. They were in Liverpool's group, so I kind of followed them a little bit more closely. They were good, but I still felt that they were a bit underwhelming. They probably could have done a bit better and qualified for the knockouts instead of Atalanta.
Do you think instead of Atalanta? I don't think they're a better team than Atalanta at the moment. Well, mind you, this season Atalanta seem to be in little bit more of going through a little bit more of a transition season themselves, a little bit inconsistent. So I suppose an opportunity was there.
Yeah, that's what I probably meant as well. I mean, I don't think they are necessarily a better team than Atalanta, squad-wise, manager, everything. I mean, when you consider everything, but I think there was a chance. They had a good chance. I think they were probably in a decent position to qualify, I guess, at one stage. But then they kind of slipped it down. And why I will be probably surprised if Ajax win the Europa League is because they are going to be daily blind I'm not sure how long he'll be out for. He got a terrible injury. I think he might even miss the Euros is what there were a few rumors that he might even miss the Euros. So Daley Blind is probably going to be a big miss, I guess, for Ajax. And another big, kind of mix-up was that they bought Sebastian Haller in January, who's done pretty well in the Eredivisie. 6 goals, 5 assists in 919 minutes, which is like really good. But they completely missed out on including him in the Europa League squad, which was a complete mess. So, that's again, he's been in really good form in the league. So it would have been great to have him in the Europa League, and that would probably have given them a little bit more chance. So I think they're going to miss Daley Blind, they're going to miss Haller as well. So that, again, probably adds to why I think Ajax might not be able to win the Europa League. But again, they did beat Lille in the round of 32 of the Europa League. Lille, especially, they've been really good this season in Ligue 1. And they even beat Young Boys in the round of 16, who actually beat Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 32, I guess. So, I think it's going to be it's going to surprise me if Ajax kind of win the Europa League.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'll be as surprised as yourself, but as well, again, every time I look at a team, I'm saying that, but then when I keep looking at the teams, in another player or another prompt pops in my mind. So they're not favourites. We'll just leave it. Yeah, they're not favourites, but it would maybe it's my heart speaking over my head on this one. So I would love someone like Ajax to win it.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely love to see Ajax win over Manchester United or Arsenal, of course. So yeah.
Manchester United and Arsenal are getting enough opportunities at the moment to qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah.
So basically, the whole tournament's getting reshaped just to get them in it. So
exactly. So we spoke about Young Boys, and that probably might transition us better to the next topic. Peter Bosz, Bayer Leverkusen, ex-Bayer Leverkusen, I should say, because he just got sacked by them after having a brilliant start to the season. So Dieter's question was, what do you think is next for Peter Bosz? Which club do you see appointing Peter Bosz next? I mean, I'll come to you, Chris, but this is pretty much a tricky question again, a tricky topic to deal with, because Bayer Leverkusen, until 19th December, before they faced Bayern Munich, they were in a title race in the Bundesliga. They were going head-to-head versus Bayern Munich. They had a 2-1 loss. It wasn't even a big loss. It was just a 2-1 loss. They got outplayed by Bayern Munich, I agree. But since then, they played 13 games in the Bundesliga and they've picked up just 12 points. That's less than a point every game, which is completely bad, which is really, really bad. I think they sit 6th or 7th right now. I think behind Borussia Dortmund. I'm not completely sure. I did not look at the league table, I guess. But I guess they are behind Borussia Dortmund, I think, right now at the moment.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Yep, and Peter Bosz got sacked. Great start to the season, great beginning. People thought probably, yes, this is finally Peter Bosz delivering what he should have. And then it completely goes overboard. I mean, they beat Frankfurt. Right? They beat Frankfurt in the DFB Pokal first. Then they lost to 4th division side Essen. They got knocked out. They got knocked out by Young Boys in the Europa League. And what's even funnier, what even looks funnier for me is, Chris, I looked at the last 13 or something games, I guess. They lost to Hertha Berlin. They lost to Armenia. They lost to Freiburg. They lost 2 games to Young Boys. They lost against Essen. They lost against Leipzig. They lost against Wolfsburg. And they lost against Union Berlin. But the wins they had, the 3 wins they had were against Borussia Mönchengladbach, Stuttgart, and Borussia Dortmund. 3 good sides. Again, I would say 3 good sides. And they kind of drew against Augsburg and Mainz. So they're losing against teams they probably should have beaten, but they kind of picked up points, lucky, or I won't say lucky points. They probably picked up good points where they were expected to face tougher opponents. So I don't know what happened with Peter Bosz. I really don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit of a trend throughout his managerial career now. I mean, his teams are really exciting to watch. If I had to give him a label as to why maybe things got wrong, is that he's too Cruyffian for modern day football. What I mean by that is that if you watch Barcelona under Johan Cruyff play, there's been many disciples, or what they get called disciples of total football and the Johan Cruyff model, if we want to call it that. Obviously, there's been plenty of managers, obviously one main one in particular, and Pep Guardiola, that has followed that sort of philosophy on. But what needs to be remembered with managers now is Guardiola doesn't copy Cruyff's football and then try and implement it now. He's evolved it and he's took elements from it and then put his own sort of thought process into it to make it be able to work his way. When you look at Peter Bosz's team, he is very much, he's Dutch. His teams always play 4-3-3, and they play exactly like total football was played in the 90s and the 80s, and there's just no room for that. You can't play like that in the modern day, especially with the enhancement of pressing, and everyone's pressing mid-block, high-block, low-block now. There's too much adaptation towards it. So from a tactical point of view, he's very one-dimensional. His teams are exciting to watch, but he never adapts it. It's like, we're playing this way, and it doesn't change. I mean, whenever you watch, it was the same when he was at Borussia Dortmund, and it was the same when he was at Ajax. I don't actually believe he won the league at Ajax either. I think, which is a must for any Ajax manager, I'm pretty sure he finished third or maybe even fourth. I have to double check that one, because I know it was Peter Bosz that lost the Europa League final, wasn't it, to Jose Mourinho's Manchester United. So his teams always leave gaping holes at the back. Don't get me wrong, they've always got lots of attacking intent, which are very good on the eye. But the minute his teams seem to stop scoring goals, they get beat. And the reason is they need to score 2, 3, 4 goals to win football matches, because they always concede goals as well. I think Leverkusen this season have been slightly unlucky with a few injuries. I believe the Lars and Sven Bender were both injured at certain points. So again, as you know, as a Liverpool fan, everyone loves an injury excuse, but I don't think that can actually hold up the actual decline that we've seen. Like you mentioned, I think the Bayern Munich score in the last minute. I think Lewandowski scored in the last minute against them. If that goal didn't go in, Bayern Leverkusen were going top of the league on December the 19th. So that sort of shows how good they were at the beginning of the season. And what we're seeing now is just a complete. And the teams that you've mentioned there, I suppose I don't think anyone could question the decision to sack him. He's out of the Europa League, like you mentioned. It's just, yeah. I'm trying to think of teams that he could actually go on and manage. I suppose the type of football that he implements, I think German football is probably ideal for it, or Spanish football. I doubt it. I can't see him managing in Italy or England. I think there's too much adaptation required for him to do that. So I think the two leagues.
Yeah, I think especially in England. Yeah, mate. I mean, like you said, especially in England, if you have to actually put him, I think he might have to probably be a little bit more pragmatic than he is right now.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not knocking. Sometimes I've watched Leverkusen predominantly last season more than I have this season, if I'm honest. And they had Kai Havertz last year, and Peter Bosz, for all his criticism, deserves great credit for what he got out of Havertz, because he was very, very good last year, and he had the solution playing him up front in the 4-3-3, playing centrally as part of the three, and sort of. And everyone likes to use the false nine indicator these days, don't they? But he was playing in that false nine role, which was very good for Kai Havertz, and he got the best out of him. So the football he implements, when it works, is fantastic to watch and it's very good on the eye. But like I said, it's just too Cruyffian. It doesn't seem like it's been evolved. It's like watching Holland in the 1974 World Cup and the 1978 World Cup, and it's like watching Barcelona under Cruyff. It doesn't work to that extent or in that way in the modern game. So he has to adapt And it doesn't, when you look at the Borussia Dortmund situation or how that fell apart, and you look at this Leverkusen situation on how this has fell, it's very similar. Once they get on these runs, he finds it hard to get out of them. It's like, and that's what separates good managers from the very best. What's stopping a bad run?
Yeah, I mean, I can't actually think of any certain or any particular clubs that I think might actually go for him. But like you mentioned, I don't see him coming to the Premier League anytime soon. I think again, German football, the Bundesliga is probably his best shot, if not the Eredivisie. Maybe Spain as well, to an extent, I would say, yes. I don't think he is going to move to France either. So probably a mid-table side in the La Liga, or probably again a mid-table side in the Bundesliga might be his next shot. And I think wherever he goes next, one thing that I could say is wherever he goes next might be his last chance to kind of get another big shot, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not done a bad job at Leverkusen. I don't think any Bayer Leverkusen fans are going to be expecting them to win the league. But it's just the times at the moment and how far they are outside the Champions League places. I think it's 7 points now behind Frankfurt, aren't they? So, I mean, and the form doesn't look like changing, given the convincing, how convincing they are in defeat. It doesn't look like it changing soon. So, like you said, a team with maybe who's sort of looking to build on a certain style of play, and they're looking to implement players into that system, and they're going to allow time to build, would probably be a little bit more ideal for them, as opposed to a team who expect to be challenging for, say, for Champions League places within their nation or within that desired country each year is probably more ideal for them. But yeah, I mean, if you look at German football at the moment, it's all about transition, isn't it? Everything's transition. I don't think the teams are sort of, we like to attack, we like to defend. Everything's how they get from defence to attack, or how they get from attack to defence. Probably a little bit too much at the moment, because if you look at German football at the moment, the defending within the league, especially this season, I've seen some absolutely horrendous defending in that league. And you just think, Spain's very sort of not so much on a transition, but most teams look to play out from the back. They look to progress the ball through thirds. I think you can only really think maybe Granada and Atletico Madrid are the only teams that come to my mind that sort of don't look to play out from the back and look to play possession based football. So that, again, leagues like that would be ideal for him. I definitely don't see him going to an Italian league anytime soon. Like you said, I don't think he's not adaptable enough for the Premier League, given the sort of the mixture within the mixture of tactics used and the different types of football used within our league. It would be too much. He reminds me a bit of Roberto Martinez, and I always say this about these types of managers because I got to witness that firsthand at Everton. It was sort of the same every game. It was like, you're not mixing this up ever. It's the same system, it's the same style, same approach, and it was never changing. And once teams work that out, in Monday football, every team will work it out. If one team works it out, every team will work it out eventually. And that's what's happening to Leverkusen at the moment. They just can't adapt. And I think you have to say that's coming from the manager, because history proves Borussia Dortmund was the same, and Ajax were quite the same as well under him. So it's hard to answer the question in terms of naming a specific club, but in terms of type of club, I think we've both covered the type of clubs that he needs to be managing, and in the type of league.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have 2 more questions from Peter remaining, which probably are kind of predictions or make a pick kind of questions.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them is predicting the CL first leg fixtures. I mean, we'll come to that towards the end because it's just about predictions. But the penultimate question is, Chris, about the winter transfers and who you think is probably who you think has probably been the best January signing this time out?
That's a good question, that, isn't it? Probably a little bit hard to answer, given that from off the top of my head, most transfers sort of went through towards the back end of January, so they haven't really had a great deal of time to make an impact.
Exactly, yeah.
But at the top of my head, I think Jesse Lingard's been very good for West Ham. I think he's been ideal for what they need, and he will keep them challenging that for the top 4, top 5, top 6 places in the Premier League until the end of the season. He's scored goals. He's contributing with assists, and it's just his style of play is perfect for the David Moyes team. So, but he comes to the top of my head. He popped into my brain straight away. But I'm trying to think now. I think Milik was a good signing for Marseille. I know they've had a change of manager as well since, and a little bit of a change in ownership. But I don't know whether I think that would be sort of probably leave a little bit more time towards the end of the season before we sort of looking at the effect that he has on them. You mentioned Sebastian Haller as well for Ajax. Did you say he scored 6 goals? Did you, Rithwik, already?
Yeah, 6 goals and 5 assists in 900 plus minutes.
Yeah, so I mean so I don't think you can argue with the impact he's had on them. He knows that league very well as well from his days at Utrecht. So maybe he's perfect for that league. I know he struggled a little bit at West Ham. I actually think he's a really, really good player. Sebastian Haller, thought he was fantastic for Frankfurt while he was there, and he certainly got a lot more to offer than what it was shown at West Ham. I don't think it was all down to him as well. But obviously, for whatever reason, West Ham just maybe financial reasons thought that he could get him off the books and obviously get a significant fee for him. I'm trying to think. I think Tomori as well. I thought that was a very good signing for AC Milan, given the fact that in some games they do like to play high up the pitch, and his pace has become will be vital for them, especially with the running now and what they sort of aim to maintain, that they get Champions League football. But other than them, I can't really think. I know Arsenal fans might shout out and say Martin Odegaard for them on loan was a good signing. I think we've seen glimpses of what he can do over the last couple of weeks, but I wouldn't really say he's had an absolutely huge impact on that team just yet. But yeah, they're the ones that pop into my head. I can't really think. What about yourself?
I mean, you stole my answer when you said Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 goal contributions in 615 minutes. He didn't play a single minute for Manchester United this season, by the way, in the Premier League. So coming to West Ham directly and having that kind of an impact all of a sudden was probably really, really cool. I mean, not in 1,000 years I thought Jesse Lingard would have that kind of an impact that he's had so far. I think he's even got called up for England, right? So yeah, that's a big one. 5 goals, 2 assists in 650 minutes, averaging 1 key pass per 90 minutes, and kind of close to 4 shot creating actions every 90 minutes as well. And like you said, fits David Moyes' style of play, works hard. I mean, that's what David Moyes wants. When you want your team to defend, he's there to put in shifts. So I think he's been a really, really good signing. Sebastian Haller, again, like you mentioned earlier. Josh Maja for Fulham, I think, is probably my outside pick, because I think he's kind of still been a good signing. But since you stole my Lingard answer, I'll go out of the box here and I'll say Thomas Tuchel.
Oh yeah, going with the manager.
Yeah, I'll keep it out of the box, and I think there's no doubt when you look at managers, I think Thomas Tuchel has been like the signature signing or the signature replacement so far. I mean, what an impact he's had since this come on. So, I mean, I don't need to explain it too much because we've already kind of discussed it in bits and bits. So, so I think Thomas Tuchel, with the kind of impact that he's had so far, I mean, he's yet to lose a single game. So that speaks volume. I think it's been more than 2 months. So, Thomas Tuchel for me. I'll go out of the box here since you went with Jesse Lingard. And moving on to the final question, Chris. The Champions League predictions, first leg. What do you think? Just give me your scores and just give me a one-liner as to why.
What, just for the ties this week?
Yeah. I think we have the 4 games this week. All the games, First leg games.
So right, Real Madrid, Liverpool. I'm going to go with an 8-0 Real Madrid win. Oh no, sorry, I just woke up. It must have just been a dream of mine. Now I'm going to go. Do you want the specific score or just the type? Do you want the specific score? Do you? That's quite.
Yeah, just go with a specific score. Let's see how many we get right before we record the next one.
Okay then. Right, I'm gonna go 1-0 for Real Madrid Liverpool. For Manchester City Borussia Dortmund, I'm gonna go for 3-1 Manchester City, maybe 3-2. For Bayern PSG, I'm gonna come to that one last. That's Wednesday. That definitely the Wednesday game, isn't it? Bayern PSG. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Porto and Chelsea. The other game. Porto and Chelsea. I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea. And for Bayern PSG, now this game has changed obviously because Robert Lewandowski's injury this week.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with 2-1 PSG. Just to be radical and out there. Let's mix it up a little bit. Be 4-0 Bayern Munich now, but
I mean, my prediction is kind of very similar to yours as well. 2 predictions matching. Real Madrid, Liverpool. I know Sergio Ramos has got injured. I think he's out for a month, which means he'll miss both the legs. So, but I think Madrid probably, they're probably disciplined tactically well disciplined when Zinedine Zidane wants them to. So I think they'll kind of probably not be very expansive, and they'll probably try to sit back a bit against Liverpool and try to pinch it in the second leg away at Anfield if the game goes on at Anfield. So I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I kind of agree with your prediction as well. As for Manchester City, Borussia Dortmund, 3-0 for me. For Manchester 3-0. City, 3-0 Manchester City for me. Bayern PSG is, like you said, Robert Lewandowski is going to be a big miss. I mean, I can't probably emphasize how big a miss he's going to be, because whenever you think Bayern are going to go down, Robert Lewandowski pops up at the right moment. You saw that against Stuttgart. How quickly the game changed after Alphonso Davies got sent off, despite Alphonso Davies getting sent off. So, but still, I kind of think Hansi Flick will put himself together, and I think that game probably Mauricio Pochettino, I think, won't probably try to risk again since it's the first leg. I still go with a 1-1 draw. 1-1 draw Bayern PSG. And as for Porto Chelsea, once again, I agree with you because Chelsea has had troubles scoring a lot of goals. So I think a 1-0 win for Chelsea might again wrap it up.
Yeah. It'll be a tight game. It'll be it's two completely different. Porto are going to be good, allow Chelsea to have the ball. Chelsea are very good with the ball, but like you said, they don't score a lot of goals under Tuchel, but they do enough to win games. So, but they're definitely not defensive. I mean, it wouldn't be surprised to see the result go the other way, 1-0 to Porto. But I fancy Chelsea. I think they're very good. Very good. They're not only good from an attacking perspective with the ball, they're actually good from a defensive perspective with the ball.
I mean, if you compare it with all the other 3 fixtures, one thing that sets this game apart is Chelsea's defensive solidity. I mean, they don't allow too many shots, so I don't think they allow Edouard Mendy to be tested a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see based on data, or even when you watch Chelsea's game, that you don't see Edouard Mendy being a lot involved, try to protect his goal. So they don't allow a lot of shots, which is I think a really, really good way to prevent all the troubles. And that's something that speaks a lot of how Thomas Tuchel has kind of changed or solidified Chelsea from what Frank Lampard had.
Yeah, and I think with PSG as well, I mentioned on our Champions League review the other week with Sadesh, is they don't seem like they don't seem like they've transitioned completely to Mauricio Pochettino's ideas yet. However, since that podcast, I mean, they were very good against Lyon. they knock Lille out of the French Cup. They come into this game in good form. They actually look like they're there now. They look like they're playing well. And that's why I fancy them to beat Bayern Munich in this game. I really do. And I think it proves that Pochettino listens to this podcast as well, because he's obviously heard me say that. And now he's got his ideas in order. So, yeah, they can thank me for telling them that they need to pull the finger out in the last podcast.
I mean, let's see who gets up. I mean, who gets the most predictions right, and let's kind of have a bet.
Yeah, we will do.
Yeah. I mean, whoever gets the most votes, will get the other guy to say their team is bad on next week's podcast. Yeah. So yes, that brings us to the end of this episode. Once again, a really fun episode. I mean, we thought of probably having separate agendas in addition to the Patreon questions, but since the Patreon questions itself were like really good and in depth and would continue discussions, we thought we'd just side with this one. Once again, thank you so much to our patrons, Dieter, Abhinav, and the others as well, Paul, Sainer, and Ameya, who support us a lot. And thank you for these wonderful questions, which has probably powered this podcast. Thank you to all our listeners as well for tuning into our show. We have new music for you in the intro, and the outro music is pretty much the same, so you can probably dance or shake a leg to it. And once again, Chris, it's always a pleasure talking football to you, unless it's a Merseyside derby and Everton win.
Yeah. But I'll keep me. I won't bring that up, mate. I know how much pain it was for it.
Yeah. So yes, that brings us to the end of this episode. Until the next one, bye. Take care.